first of all, I've been remiss. I realized it's been almost a year since I bullied David Meade on this show. He's the guy who just won't stop predicting the apocalypse. But with Corona and all, I was curious if he'd made any predictions recently. And it turns out, no, he hasn't been in the news since June of last year, when he proposed that sometime that year a war with Iran would trigger the apocalypse, which he must have been right on the edge of his seat back in January when there was kind of a close call with Iran. But right now it seems he's laying low. This has not stopped other doomsayers who are related to him from filling in the gaps. A militant Christian group stated last December that the astrological signs pointed to a 7-year tribulation period already being underway since 2017, putting the end of the world at 2025, which I could believe it. I mean, the way things are going, that doesn't seem totally crazy.
This opens a lot of questions, like he missed this one.
Right, exactly.
So does that mean that this one is the one because the other ones weren't the one, and he said that was...
You're right.
So you where I'm going?
You're saying if he's just like, if he's predicting the apocalypse, then nothing's going to happen. But if he's not, then, like, so he's just exactly reversed.
Yeah, it's like Puxatawny Phil. Are you familiar with Puxatawny Phil?
Yes.
Okay. He's got a bad track record. You know, basically, right. Statistically, if he says it's going to be a long winter, statistically from our history, that means that it's going to be a short winter.
His track record is actually worse than chance, is what you're saying.
Right, yes. And so, David Meade, you know,
it's possible the same thing could be going on with him. He's like the Puxatawny Phil of apocalypse, you know. That's a sentence. That is very concerning. Yeah, it's interesting. Most, you know, of the sort of apocalypse set are, like, basically evangelical Christians. Like, that's where most of these predictions are coming from. And in the US, at least, evangelical Christians love Trump, who have been downplaying the pandemic since the beginning. So there have actually been very few apocalypse predictions from that particular crowd. They've mostly been silent because, you know, they
because it's obviously going to be a Democrat's fault when the apocalypse.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if they love him. Do they love him, or do they just sort of tolerate him because he's
evangelical Christians?
Yeah.
No, they're actually overwhelmingly quite positive on Trump.
Okay.
It's interesting because I thought it was sort of different. You know, I thought it was sort of the Ted Cruz Republicans and then the Trump Republicans, and they're just sort of grudgingly supporting him.
Right.
And I think it was that way at one point. But now that Trump is the president, they're exceedingly enthusiastic about him.
Nice.
And I think a lot of his base was evangelical to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I find a lot of this stuff really kind of weird with Christians. I don't have a huge understanding of Christianity, and I am by no means coming down on every Christian. I've known a lot in my life that were perfectly loving, accepting, non-apocalyptic people. But a lot of them seem to sort of like latch on to the Old Testament, even though when Jesus came, he said that's all out. The New Testament is in, which would include Revelation, you know, and then in the next part of what you said, militant, Christian, and astrological all were in one sentence, you know, and like,
right.
It's
well, David Meade is a Nibiru guy. Like, he's been saying from the beginning that the end of the world would be caused by Nibiru. It seems like he's kind of branching out a little bit, but
so does he believe in the Anunnaki and Christ?
That's unclear. He hasn't really addressed that. I imagine that he just doesn't think that the Anunnaki are gods or whatever.
Right.
Maybe they're space aliens, but it seems like from what he said, he just sort of believes that there's a planet.
Okay, well, I think we've learned
may not be inhabited.
One thing here. We have learned one thing here, and that is that we probably should do an entire show on David Meade so that we can better understand what exactly is going on with this guy.
I mean, we need to have him on. We just need to urge him not to listen to any previous shows.
I don't think that'd be a problem.
So, yeah. That he doesn't know how much we've made fun of him.
Yeah, no, I don't know. You know, I don't mind giving a platform to people who are out there, but I don't want to give platform to fear mongering. You know, I'm over that.
That is true. This guy is That is
there's
kind of what
only
he
so
does.
many times you can predict the end of the world, unless it's like Terminator and he actually saved it all these times and goes unnoticed for his, actions that he did to save us from the apocalypse that he
Exactly.
predicted.